Chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. For a moment, I would like to go back to the early morning hours when Srila Prabhupada would translate and speak his purports, starting in Radha Damodar in India, and working so hard to get his books published, staying in Chippewada in Delhi, and then dealing with the printer, no money, but somehow or other managing to produce these first volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is stated, Tadvak Visargo Janataka Viplavo Yasmin Pratislokam Apadavati Arpi Namani Anantasya Yasonkitani Srimanti Griyanti Griyanti Sadhana. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that this Srimad Bhagavatam can bring about a revolution in a misguided, misdirected civilization. It can, in that way, completely change the entire world. Srila Prabhupada had firm faith in Srimad Bhagavatam, because he understood these are the words of of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is known that Srila Prabhupada would enjoy reading his own Krishna book. And one might say, okay, enjoy your own book. Yes, because Krishna has dictated these books. So, therefore I'd like to for a moment meditate on the nature of the books, on the pure transcendental nature of these books. How Srimad Bhagavatam is described with Kurukshetra. And so how these books are coming from the pure, unalight spiritual platform. It is only by appreciating the glory of the books and the potency of the books that one can develop a desire to distribute them. Otherwise, one might be more concerned with the external circumstances. One might be more thinking as to winter, cold, people don't want to give any money, and all these things. And that element is that it is winter. But at the same time, here is the complete purity in the form of written word in books. And if we give these books to people, we give them Krishna and devotional service to Krishna. These books are giving the entire connection, the entire sambandha through which we can advance along the path of devotional service and come to pure devotional service. And the world is just covered by ignorance, and it is the age of Kali, and the conditions are harsh. People are not happy, trying hard to be happy, but not happy. So keeping that in mind, then no matter how much they may try to convince themselves that they are a success in life, no matter how much they have collected different attributes that to convince them, I've made it. Deep down in the heart, still not happy, still not satisfied, still hungry. Prabhupada tells the story of how a brahmana was very hungry and had just no financial means, so he decided to go begging. But in the area where he was, there was not really an appropriate area, because in Brahminical culture it's very strict. In Vedic times, brahmanas should beg from brahmanas if it's any food like that. But in this case, he was extremely hungry, and he went into an area and he even begged from a Muslim. Then he lost. By that, he would lose his caste. So he did it anyway, didn't care. But then the Muslim hardly gave him anything. So then he said, I lost my caste and I'm still hungry. In other words, I compromised so much for happiness in this material world. And in order to satisfy my desires, I broke so many rules. I committed sinful activities. I did all these things, and not because I didn't know that it was wrong, but because I didn't see any other option to be happy. And then I tried it, and now I'm still not satisfied, still not fulfilled. So we should not think that there is no need for this literature. Thank you. We should not think there is no need for, that people have no need or no connection with these books. That the subject matter of the books is something very alien, something that people cannot relate to. That it's like two different worlds, their world and the world of the Gita. But that's not necessarily so, because these books contain answers. There was an interesting story which I like from Yogindra, who is originally American but lives for a long time in Sweden. And he was distributing books in Sweden. And as he was distributing books, he distributed a book to a lady. And then after about 20 minutes, this man comes, big man, extremely angry. And he goes, "You push this rubbish upon my wife, and you take this book back, and I want my money back. I want my money back." So he said that, how do you know this book is rubbish if I haven't even read it? He says, it is rubbish, and it's not even in Swedish. It's not even in the local language. Because he had seen some of the Sanskrit. Therefore he said, it's not in the local language. Then he opened the book. Then Yogendra said, just open the book and read something. It is in the local language, you will see. So he opened the book and read something out loud. And it was about how one can become overcome by anger and how one can conquer anger and so on. And in this way, he just read it, closed the book, and walked away. So, the books have answers. The books are relevant to people. The books are dealing actually with subject matters that address the issues of the day. They are not from a long-gone era. The books are completely relevant. They deal with all the human issues that people deal with. And they offer solutions. So in that way, we can appreciate that what we have is very relevant, and that we have something to offer to people that they need and that they can relate to. In that way, Srila Prabhupada would also say that one should learn to distribute the book on the preaching about the merit of the book. In other words, taking something from the book to present the book. In other words, trying to find a genuine connection between what's in the book and the people, and what would be relevant for them. Because if we do so, then the whole exchange will be a favorable exchange. If one simply uses some sales technique, we did all kinds of things in the past. I once in Sydney was using a technique from, do you know that there are children eating from the garbage cans in your city, and if you help out and take this book, you will get, you will directly help and solve the problem. I mean, those presentations were a little rough, but in those days we didn't know how to do it, and someone had taught me the trick, and I tried it, and it worked. It even worked too well. One lady, she emptied out her bank account and came and brought me all the money, and I felt very embarrassed. And I'm like, what's going to happen next? So, if we can be actually truthful, then we'll automatically leave a good impression. And then automatically we are what people expect us to be. People do not just expect when they meet us, they expect us to be the personification of what the books are. I mean, they don't know exactly what's in our books, but they have an idea. They think, okay, these are spiritual books, and spirituality means, good values and so on. So they expect us to embody these good values. And if we don't, then naturally they'll become, they feel that we are cheaters. The essence of all the scriptures is the glorification of Krishna. Tesam Sakti Yutanam Bhajatam Pitipurva Kanan. That's the essence, to always glorify Krishna. And somehow or other, that is the purpose of all scripture. All scripture is aiming at that glorification of Krishna. That is the result, either of reading. That is the purpose of all our actions, to glorify Krishna, either by words or in deed, to do something that glorifies Krishna. So that's why it is a Sankirtan festival. Sankirtan means that glorification of Krishna. And the essence, of course, is for ourselves to be absorbed. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is the famous verse which describes how the Panchatattva came and how the Panchatattva broke the lock of the storehouse of love of God. Say Panchatattva Mimi Prithiviyasiya Purva Prema Bandhare Mudra Ukati Panchini Vittu Prem Koryashvana Yata Yata Piyatashna Padayamaka. So, in that particular verse, it is stated that the Panchatattva broke the storehouse, broke the lock, and broke the doors open. And what did they do then? Then it said they drank it to their full satisfaction. And as they drank it to their full satisfaction, yata yata piya, as they drank, then it says yata yata piya, Krishna Balanuka. Then their thirst actually increased. So that's the trick. It wasn't that they just broke open the storehouse and then they went and immediately preached. No, they themselves, they drank. They drank the message, the glorification, the glories of Krishna. They relished. They relished Vayam to the Vitripyana Jana Sloka Vikrame. They relished the discussions about Krishna. And by such discussions about Krishna, they forgot all about the material world and they remained on the spiritual platform, fully absorbed. Then of course, it is possible to develop a deep desire to distribute that mercy. So that is the essence. The essence is absorption, somehow or other, to be deeply absorbed, and then we can be motivated to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere. And of course, nothing depends on us in this world. We are not in control. Prakriti kriyamanana gunakarmani sarvasa ahankara ityame bina prakriti astana. We are not in control here. The three modes of material nature are in control, and beyond the three modes of material nature, Krishna is in control. He is controlling the three modes of material nature. Ayatakshena prakriti suvate sachara charam. So in that way, we are only small controllers, and we can only do so much. So in this regard, there is the ancient narration of the sparrow that had lost her eggs in the ocean, and this story, which we all know, the little sparrow was very determined to get the eggs back and said, "I will drink all your water." The ocean didn't care at all. The ocean didn't even reply. But then Garuda came, and Garuda said, "I will drink your water." Then, all right, yes, Mr. Garuda, of course, Mr. Garuda. What can I do for you, Mr. Garuda? Eggs. Oh yes, of course, Mr. Garuda. And here they are. In the same way, what can we do on our own? How can we preach? How we can convince anyone without Krishna? We try as much as we can, but ultimately it is Krishna who makes it all possible. It is by Krishna's arrangement that it can be done. Krishna enters into the whole situation, then it is successfully attained. So that dependence on Krishna is a very important element in preaching. The first Sankirtan party was, of course, Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, who were sent out to preach and who came upon these drunkards, Jagai and Madai. And one of the first qualifications that was required to preach was to be fearless, to somehow or other overcome one's fear, and anyhow, somehow or other carry on, relying on the protection of Krishna. So they approached Jagai and Madai, who were extremely aggressive and drunk, but somehow or other they approached them anyway. I'm not recommending here that we are going to look for all the drunks or aggressive people and single them out. That's not what I'm suggesting. Better. But Nityananda did. And of course, Jagai and Madai attacked with a clay pot and hit Nityananda. And but somehow or other, Nityananda was still trying. So it's not always easy, but Lord Chaitanya appeared there to protect. So we are to be fearless is required. Otherwise, how can one approach people when they are like not really waiting for us? I mean, they didn't call a book delivery. You can call pizza delivery and they'll come and deliver it to your door. They didn't call you, said, excuse me, can you please bring that book? No, it's us who infringe upon their privacy and just barge in and basically pop their nice little privacy bubble and say, some people may not appreciate. Many people may not be interested, apparently. But that's sometimes the forum where we distribute the books. It's like I myself, I never bought a book on the street. I saw some devotees on the street with books, but I didn't buy it. I avoided them. I tried to escape. Yes, I would cross the street. Yes, or other things. I would recognize them. I didn't buy it. But then, somehow or other, I borrowed the book from someone else who had bought it, had it on his bookshelf. So that's also the case that sometimes one person buys the book, someone else gets it, and so on, and it will act. The Bhagavad Gita that somehow or other I got from a friend. I read that Bhagavad Gita, and that Bhagavad Gita convinced me and made me a devotee. But then, somehow or other, I lost that Bhagavad Gita. I don't know where it went. I don't know who has that Bhagavad Gita now. Somebody must have found it. I don't know how many people, how many more people have become Krishna conscious from that one Bhagavad Gita. I have no idea. You can't think one book, one person, and one book will make one person a devotee. That's not how we should think. One book can go around. Right? Early days in Russia, ripping pages out of a book, photocopying them, and then sewing books in an apartment all by themselves. For one book. So many books were made. So we cannot imagine what these books are doing. We can also not think, I gave the book now to a person, now he has to join, and has to give up his life, and has to his independence, and has to become a complete, join the temple. Why is he not joining? What's wrong? It doesn't have to be that way. It can work in a little more subtle, as it did for us. I don't know about you. Some people are like that. They just met a devotee and they joined them the next day. That happens, or even the same day, whatever. But others, they needed some time. They get the book, even looked at it. Okay. It took some time to digest, to think about it. Some never came that far, but they influenced somebody else who took it very serious. Ultimately, these books will find people. It's not that we are finding the people for the book and is it this one? Is it that one? He looks sort of intellectual. He looks like he's got glasses. Looks like he's reading. we are trying to use psychology to figure out who is possibly going to be the one to take the book. That's one approach. But the fact is the books themselves, they find the people. They go to the people where they are meant to go. And it's all, there's a higher plan behind the whole thing. It's just a higher arrangement by which all this is happening. How Krishna just arranged it. The time, the place, the book, and it just comes right there, boom. Just in the hands of the one who is the head. And in this way, if one can just act as an instrument of Krishna, yes, that is very nice. Of course, there also is, there are many creative ways in which books can be distributed. We used to think about it. I'm from Holland, and we used to go to the ports, because in the Rotterdam port, there are so many ships and so many canals for all these ships to go in. It's a very, very big port. So endless bridges, endless bridges. So we used to buy a timetable for the bridges. They all open up exactly on the time. And we just go to the bridge that would open. Then a big line of trucks. And then we'd get all the trucks. And all the truck drivers who usually have money to spend, and it was quite good actually. So we can also be creative and distribute in different ways. Sometimes some devotees would, in some countries, set up stalls in the malls, or whatever they do. Different ways are there. Others would just follow up with people who had previous bought books, kept a name, kept a database, and would sell them more books. That's also a way to go. I mean, if you can't handle extreme cold, then you can distribute books on someone's sofa. Why not? There are many ways, and it's certainly part of book distribution is to think of more creative ways to expand and to reach people in different forums. Not everyone may stop today. Doesn't mean they're not interested. Maybe they need another place, another approach. Maybe also, one more thing, is that people may need first some purification. See, the Prabhupada explained simply by touching the book, they would become purified. So maybe they need to have it in their hands a few times and say no, yeah, and get purified before they can say yes. So I always say, the ones who say no tomorrow are the ones who get purified now, so that they can say yes. And the ones who say no today get purified are the ones who will say yes tomorrow. So in this way, one can continue, because everyone actually requires Krishna consciousness to be happy. And therefore, everyone is hungry. Everyone is looking for happiness. And they'll say, no, it's not that. Nah, don't want that. Nah, it's not that. But there's always that little doubt. Then again, and one day, they may just think, no, maybe I'll check it out. When the time is right. So in this way, it is very nice that worldwide now, these monthly Sankirtan festivals are going on, and devotees from especially devotees who are oftentimes busy with work or family affairs or whatever, throughout the week come out on the weekend and are taking a book distribution in the weekends. So it's not just only us today who will be going out. Actually, there are devotees everywhere, all over the world, going out today on the weekend, doing the same thing. It's catching on as a worldwide program. And somewhere they call it Weekend Warriors, somewhere they call it Sacred Street Party. In London it's now Sacred Street Party, whatever it is. That's,
Sounds better.
You like that better, Sacred Street Party? I guess Weekend Warriors was maybe inspired by spiritual warriors from meditating. It still rings in people's hearts. So, whatever the name is, it's the same old thing. Somehow or other, let us give the mercy to all the suffering, conditioned souls. I thank you for your time. Any comments? Any questions?
I have two stories.
Please. Should we bring over?
These stories come from Sankirtan book distribution in Switzerland many years ago. But it's the same principle, same words. Only the devotees change over the years. Nothing else. In the 80s, one of the Sankirtan devotees in Switzerland knocked on a door in a residential building. There was a lot of door-to-door distribution in Switzerland. And the man was not terribly interested, but somehow he took the book. And it remained in the plastic. They were all shrink-wrapped. He put it on his bookshelf, and it remained on his bookshelf for years in the shrink wrap, never opened, until his grandson came on a visit to Grandpa's house years later, and he looked at the book, and it looked very interesting. He removed the shrink wrap and started reading it. And then he started coming to the temple, and then he started adopting practices of devotional service and chanting. And then he wanted more, in this way, if one thought that the book was distributed and wasted on someone, that goes to your point that one should not think about one book for one person. One should think about getting these books in the bloodstream of human civilization, where they will circulate, and where they will attach, or someone will attach to them. No one can say with any certainty, but we do know that if they're not printed and they're not distributed, then of course they will not attach to anyone and no one will attach to them. So that's one example. And the second one I wanted to narrate was Switzerland, where I served from 1971 to 1986, is a very small country. Back then there were only 6.5 million people living in the country. Now I think there's about 8. And there's 26 states or cantons. Some of them are very, very small, actually. And there was a lot of mountains. Most of Switzerland is really just mountains, with a big central plain or plateau where most of the cities are. And it was important to plan the book distribution carefully, because the country was so small and we were always out on Sankirtan distributing books, that if there was no method to the whole thing. You'd end up knocking on the same person's door multiple times within relatively short periods of time. And there were different parties that didn't always get coordinated that well. So they got coordinated. And basically we knocked on every single door in Switzerland in a planned way within an 18-month period. It took us 18 months of Sankirtan to literally knock on every door. And so then the person who had his door knocked on in month 1 would have time to recover from the proposed, it's kind of anxiety, like, will you take this book? Yes, no, not interested, leave me alone, you already asked me yesterday, I gave it the office kind of a response, So every 18 months at the most, the devotees would show up again. And they knew that this was the reality. They knew that the likelihood of the person that they were addressing to purchase the book, that it was highly unlikely that it was the first time. More likely was that they didn't purchase the book, but not that they didn't have the opportunity. And so the devotees always went away with a long view. Sometimes people would just look at the book and give it back. That was great. Sometimes they'd look at a picture and they'd say, what's going on in this picture? And then the devotee would explain the Leela of Krishna, and they wouldn't take the book. And then, over the years, Switzerland was it was the mouse that roared in book distribution for at least a decade, where we had a little newsletter back in those days, Sankirtan newsletter book distribution, and there was like the top 10 temples in book distribution, or the top 10 distributors, and Switzerland always had like 5 or 6 devotees in the top 10 worldwide, or it was always in the top 10, mostly in the top 5 on the number of big books distributed year after year after year. And so in the end, people would somehow either get purified, or they would get purified to the point of taking the book. And many people would say, look, you've knocked on my door, I know the book is rubbish if you haven't read it. It's and so no effort is wasted. Even if you go out on the Sankirtan festival every month, once in a much, even for just a few hours, and it helps you actually connect with other suffering living entities. And whatever they decide, that's their decision. But you made the right decision by going, and you'll see that over time, people get the message, they respond. So I just wanted to say that. And we covered Switzerland, I don't know how many times. Now the Sankirtan is not quite as vigorous as it used to be, but that's from my memory.
I guess we should go, huh? It's about 1:15 now.
Yeah, thank you so much for inspiring us, and I hope we will have a wonderful experience, all of us, at least to try to touch the pavement and be there. And please, we need your help to help us to move all of us to the Swiss Atlantic Berkeley subway station, and we'll be having Harinam and Sankirtan party there. Thank you so much for coming and supporting this festival. Thank you.
Prabhupada ki jai.